Welcome to the Nerd Social. I'm Nathan.
And I'm Colin.
What we're going to do is talk about Dune, the
Mm.
movie. But before that, please like and subscribe. This is the only way that algorithms actually know that we exist and how other people actually find our videos. So if you like this content and like more content like this, so like and subscribe and comment down below about our conversation. So moving on. We're going to move on to Dune. As I said, I'm going to read the press release description of it. And we're going to do a spoiler-free talk, and then we'll jump into spoiler talk. This is the press release from Legendary or Warner Brothers. A mythic and emotionally charged hero's journey, Dune tells the story of Paul Atreides, a brilliant and gifted young man born into a great dynasty beyond his understanding, who must travel to the most dangerous planet in the universe to ensure the future of his family and his people, as malevolent forces explode into conflict over the planet's exclusive supply of the most precious resource in existence, a commodity capable of unlocking humanity's greatest potential. Only those who can conquer their fear will survive. That's the press.
Mm.
All right. So that's the spoiler-free press release summary of the movie. So what did you think of spoiler-free talk right now? What did you think?
Correct. So I actually watched it on HBO Max. I did not go to the theaters, but I can definitely see why. I know you said, Nathan, that you went to see it on IMAX, was it?
Mm-hmm.
So I can definitely see why you should try to, if you can go to the theaters, to watch it in theaters, because it is really, there's some really stunning scenes. And Nathan, you could probably talk about that. Overall, my impressions is that, number one, the movie is a very slow burn. So there's going to be some parts to it where it's almost like dead space in some ways. It's not that it's not that it's boring or anything like that. It's just dead space. It's just you feel as though you want to move the story along, but then it's necessary to build up certain elements later on in the movie. So that's first thing. Second thing for me is that there's definitely, you can see why George Lucas was influenced by Dune. A lot of it reminded me of Star Wars, and of course, Dune preceded Star Wars. But because of how the movies are, it does remind you a lot of Star Wars, especially Tatooine, especially Jakku. A lot of that type of scenery is relevant to that. And also a lot of the military stuff is very similar to Stormtroopers in many ways. So there's definitely the Star Wars element that's in there. You cannot avoid it. And also with some of the main characters, which we can get to during the spoiler part of the review. Third thing, of course, online, they talked a lot about the white savior complex. It does exist, unfortunately. So we can talk as to how does it exist? Where was it in the movie that was pretty evident and things like that. All-star cast, just like I said, I think because of the all-star cast, I was very intrigued by it, and it was number 2 on my list of most anticipated movies of 2021. So I was really looking forward to how all these different well-known actors and actresses interact with each other. So it was really fascinating in that way. And also, finally, there's a lot of shocking deaths. It was just like interesting in that regard. They just kind of did that. It was very Game of Thrones in many ways, that
Yes.
all the shock that's involved. But we won't get to who actually died, but there is a lot of shock there. And then finally, just the fact people in the beginning would get thrown off, and because of the slowness of it, you're like, okay, if people are confused as to if there are more parts to it, it gave you a sense as you watch the movie that, hey, it's not gonna be covered within this one movie. There's gotta be some more to it. So it just kind of left you with that feeling, even though you may or may not have known that, or you may have, when you watch the title, it literally does say Dude and then something there that tells you, I won't spoil it here, but it just kind of reiterates that, yeah, this is a pretty long story overall. So those are like my general 5 points regarding non-spoiler Dune stuff. Is your sound there?
Sorry. Sorry.
It's okay.
Yeah, I as you said, I went in IMAX last week and I saw it at a very late showing around 10 p.m. on Saturday. And I'm glad I saw it in IMAX. Some of the slower parts are him taking beautiful shots of the desert or other landscapes, and it's breathtaking, the cinematography in the movie, that so that it really is worth seeing it in IMAX. I think I mentioned to you guys earlier in the week when we were talking in pre-production that it reminds me of my experience watching The Dark Knight, where the first sequence of that movie is shot primarily in IMAX. So every time I watch it on cable or actually own it, my mind goes back to those original images. So when I watched it later on in the week on HBO Max, my mind filled in the grander images that I saw in the IMAX films, IMAX screen. So if you can see it on IMAX, I understand that it's difficult because of the pandemic. Try to find a showing in the middle of the week or something like that where there aren't a whole lot of people. I searched like 7 different movie theaters before I found a movie theater that had the amount of people that I would feel comfortable being in the movie theater with. No one was near me, but I wanted to get one where there was like at least a row of people, like a row between me and someone else, and I was able to find that. So if you feel comfortable, if you can find a showing that you feel comfortable going to, I definitely say you should definitely go and see it in IMAX to get that experience. As far as the lightsaber thing, we can get into that a little bit. That's definitely there. There are also some other elements there that are somewhat problematic, but that's in the original source material. So it's hard to get around that without changing the story fundamentally. I think that what Denis Villeneuve is probably going to do is play around with the motivations of the quote-unquote people who are being saved and give them more agency in the next movie. So without getting into the specifics of that I think that's probably the tack that he will take. And I know that from some press release this week when they mentioned the second movie of the series. So Timothée Chalamet, I really don't know him from much of anything. I know the name, and Hollywood has been telling me his name for the last several years. So I knew that he was a movie star, and he has a very unique name. But this is the first thing that I've actually seen him in. I know he was in Call Me by Your Name, but I didn't see that movie. I know he was in Lady Bird, but I didn't see that movie either yet. They're on my list, but I haven't seen them. But I think he's perfectly cast. He was a really good actor. He has movie star good looks. He also looks like the 15-year-old that he's supposed to be, even though he's in his early 20s. And if he doesn't work, the movie doesn't work, and I think he definitely works. So Rebecca Ferguson as his mother also does a really great job here. I don't know if I remember her from anything else.
Mission Impossible, and also the Star series, the Spanish, was it White Princess or Spanish?
The White Queen.
White Queen.
Okay, yeah, but I haven't seen her in that. I have seen her in Mission Impossible, so I think this is the best that I've seen her. She does a great job here, and I'm looking forward to what they do with her later on. Oscar Isaac does an awesome job here. They have so many great people in this cast.
Yes, they do.
Oscar Isaac, who you may know as Poe Dameron from the new Star Wars movies. I think they give him, even though he doesn't have a lot to do in this movie, I feel like they give him a bit more to do, and he has more grounded scenes in this movie than he had in all of the Star Wars movies. And you can correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm forgetting something. I know the second movie in the Star Wars series, he had a lot more to do, but I connected with his character more here. And
agreed.
For some, and saying why would be spoilery, so I'm just going to say that I connected with his character here. Josh Brolin plays Gurney, who is one of Duke Leto's generals or lieutenants. Stellan Skarsgård, who is from the Thor movie, plays Vladimir Harkonnen, our main villain. David Bautista plays his nephew. Zendaya is in this as well. She isn't used as much as you would think from the marketing. But she's definitely in the movie. Who else should I?
You also have Jason Momoa.
Jason Momoa is Duncan, Idaho. He seems younger in this than I've seen him in anything else. Maybe because they shaved him. I think Jason Momoa is 4 or 5 years older than me, and he looks really good in this. I keep saying episode because we usually review episodes. But he looks really good in this movie. He plays a really great part in this movie, and he's very charismatic, as Jason Momoa usually is in everything that he plays. So he does a great job here. Javier Bardem is in here in this a little bit, and David Dastmalchian, which I didn't know.
Yes,
when I watched it.
He's here again. Suicide Squad, Batman, Ant-Man. Now he's in Dune. This guy always appears.
Yeah, David Dastmalchian is in this as well, and he's in everything. If it's a genre thing, look in the background, look at the corners, you might see David Tishbaka somewhere. Yeah. I don't think he's showed up in the Star Wars universe yet.
Not yet.
But he's in Dune, he's in the Marvel universe, he's in the DCEU. So yeah. I generally I really like the movie. I think there is some slow parts to it. I watched it at 10 p.m. so I nodded off at a couple places because it's a 3 hour it's a 3 hour movie, and it's a little slow in places. But I also think that if you're watching it at home, you might nod off at some of the places where I didn't nod off because it was just beautiful to see. When he was doing shots of just landscape of Dune, of Arrakis, and also of the Atreides homeworld, which is escaping me off the top of my head. So yeah, I enjoyed the movie. I do think there are some problematic elements that we need to discuss, but in general, I think it's a recommendation from me.
Yeah, definitely I would say definitely a recommendation for me. Yes, there are some problematic elements which we will address, but I think it's very visually stunning. I think the all-star cast is great in their roles, and I think that everything kind of revolves around Timothée Chalamet, and he did pretty well overall to hold up the movie because it really is his movie. So I think that having him at the center of it, and then the all-star cast backing him up with great roles, I think it just speaks to his talent as well.
Yeah, and actually in the chat here, I'm looking at C.H. Chan mentioned the Hans Zimmer score. Yeah, the score was also pretty good. It matched the movie's tone very well. It added to the atmosphere of the movie. It was haunting where it needed to be. I watched a interview with Denis like a week ago where he mentioned even in scenes that you wouldn't necessarily think were music heavy, there was a lot of sound design done by Hans Zimmer, and he contributed a great deal to the feel of this movie with the music and also the sound that he created. So that was also a great addition to the movie. And you mentioned, we also mentioned a couple times that it's slow in parts, but I think that the contemplative nature of the movie is set up in such a way so that you actually feel something when those deaths happen, because you mentioned that deaths happen.
Yes.
If they tried to cram everything into one movie like they did in the 1984 movie, the deaths of people wouldn't necessarily mean anything to you, but they establish relationships, and they establish these people in the first hour or so of the movie, hour and a half before things happen, and you need that so you actually care about whoever's going to die if they die.
Right.
So, yeah.
Exactly.
All right. So we spent a whole lot of time talking around the movie. I think we can actually start getting into spoiler talk. So if you haven't seen it, go and see it. It's on HBO Max, or see it in the movie theaters if you can, because it's definitely worth your time. So anyway, that is what we thought about the movie. We would like to hear what you guys think, though. So please comment down below and like and subscribe for more content like this. And we will see you next week when we talk about the Eternals. All right, guys. Bye. Thanks.